Today, I'm interviewing the Michael Blanc. Michael is a colleague and a mentor of mine. In today's interview, we're talking about the quest for financial freedom. We'll share our stories of how Michael and I have focused in on real estate and passive income as the best way to achieve the financial freedom that we all crave. I'm Michael Parks, helping you to invest in apartment buildings. Here we go. Hi, I'm here with Michael Blanc. Michael, welcome to the channel. How are you today?
Hey, it's great to be here, Michael. Thanks for having me.
Excellent. So, Michael is a real estate investor and syndicator, one of my mentors. So, Michael, I appreciate you being here on my YouTube channel with me and talking about real estate with us.
I'm looking forward to it. Let's do this.
Let's do this. Yeah, Michael's signature. So, Michael, I'd like to start by maybe asking you a little bit about how did you get into apartment investing?
It all started with this awful purple book that I'm sure everyone or a lot of people have read, The Rich Dad Poor Dad, and it really ruined my life because when I read that, first of all, I thought I was pretty smart at the time. I had a well-paying job, I had money in the bank, and I read this book. I'm like, oh my gosh, it's about passive income. It's not about how much you have in the bank or what your salary is. And I think the extent of my passive income at the time was probably interest and dividends on my stock portfolio. So I was like, oh my gosh. So after, I was just shook to the core. And then after, 3 months of hemming and hawing, I came home one day and I announced to my wife that I was quitting my job to pursue financial freedom. That's how that started.
Nice.
and and because I had some money at the time, I was part of a software IPO. I was part of a software company. We're in the right place, right time. Went public in March of 2000. Put a bunch of money in my pocket. So I passively invested quite a bit in all kinds of ventures. So I educated myself about commercial real estate and house flipping and notes and stuff like that. And I invested some money with people, and I opened a restaurant chain. Michael, I thought that was a good idea. I hired a guy to run everything, and it was really set up to be more like a passive investment. It would have worked out well had it not been the recession, and the concept that I signed up with was not recession resistant whatsoever. I subsequently, well, first of all, I made a really bad passive investment. It was like I invested like 300 grand in a commercial developer, and he ended up losing $1 million. It was a recession, but it was like utter incompetence and or fraud. He, in fact, got convicted by the SEC at one point. And so that was that. And then on the business side, I lost everything through the restaurants. So that was my rude awakening to the passive investing world. And then I dug myself out with real estate. And like so many people thinking real estate, they think, of course, single family houses. And then I flipped houses, flipped about 3 dozen houses, made pretty good money as I was, it was like this big bucket with holes in the bottom, bleeding money out. And then I was pouring money back in just to stay afloat. And then I also got an apartment building. And after a while, I noticed, and the apartment building was a nightmare, by the way. The first building was a nightmare. After about 12 months, after a nightmarish experience, kind of stabilized the thing, and I kind of forgot about it as I'm flipping houses. And after a while, I was like, man, that's a lot of work, all this house flipping stuff. And meanwhile, this boring apartment building is sending me like $1,000 a month. I'm like, huh, man, maybe I should do more of that and less of this, and through the house flipping experience, I got this. I got because all my money was deployed, I had to raise it. I had to raise the money. So I was borrowing money from friends and family, paying them 12% simple interest, 6 month turn, that kind of stuff. And then I parlayed that into the multifamily space, and it was a different ball game. It was like I like to say the same thing but different. But as a different kind of investor, the house flipping investor was like, "Oh, I'm getting my money back in 6 months. This is great." The multifamily guy is like, "Well, you're gonna lock it up for 5 years." Oh, I'm out. I'm out. So it was a different experience, but I got the light bulb went off when I was able to raise money from people and then deploy their capital so they can get a return on it. And that was very powerful for these past investors who were used to investing in the stock market.
Yeah, I mean, that makes a lot of sense. I did something similar, like you, looking for the passive income. I think a lot of people aspire to be able to live off of income that they don't have to work for. And so I'm entrepreneurial as well. So I didn't do pizza places. I think you did pizza places. I went and I did hair salons.
Oh, sure. That's
So
much better.
yeah.
Yeah, much better, right? Yeah, it's a really great franchise model. You just hire a manager, they run it. It just makes
Yeah,
money
yeah, and you
for
sit
you.
back and count the passive income. Oh yeah,
Yeah,
what can
and the
go
money
wrong?
rolls in. That's exactly how it worked for about 3 hours, where I was killing myself working a day job and
Yeah.
trying to run these hair salons, right? So I eventually sold them. Luckily, I sold them for a bit of a profit, although I'm not sure it was worth all my time that I put into it.
It it puzzles me so much. I mean, I speak to certain high net individuals who have good income, and they're like, "What should I do with all my money? I know I want to invest outside." Oh, I know, I'm going to invest in the stock in the franchise. Like I have a friend of mine who's I was like, "Are you?" He's known me for like 10 years, and he knows I'm investing in apartment buildings. Why would you talk to a franchise sales guy? Like after all I've been through, it's like, are you insane? Like,
Right.
do you have no? First of all, it's not going to be passive, and you know this. There's people
Yes.
who own the UPS stores. I mean, any retail store, is going to be active. And the most passive thing, of course, is the stock market. Though even I struggle with that because people who invest in the stock market have no idea how the market works. They have no idea in what mutual fund is like. They just have no idea. They're just blindly giving hundreds of $1,000s to some financial advisor because they think they're going to take, watch over them and take care of them. And it just puzzles me. With just a little bit more effort, they can put money into financial vehicles that actually make a lot more sense, like multifamily real estate or commercial real estate in general.
Yeah, I mean, you're right, and I do that too. I put money in the stock market. I think it makes sense to have some money in the stock market,
Yeah.
but like you said, I think that's the default answer for most people is I'll just keep putting money in. I'll save and save and save, and eventually there'll be enough for me to retire. And I don't know about you, but I've watched the market go through some drastic swings, right? And
But
whether
what
that's
is the rule? I mean, you have a financial background, right? I mean, the rule is you got to save enough so you can live off 4% of the income. Now, I can't do
percent,
math. 4%. I can't do math in my head, but if I want to have $100,000 per year in income, what do I need? What is that?
2.5 million.
2.5 million, right? So it's a pretty big number for a lot of people. And there's nothing wrong per se. I mean, most Americans don't save money at all. They retire basically broke and they have to work at the grocery store. So having saving money all your life so you can retire at 65 is not the worst plan out there. It's not the worst, but it's also not the best.
Yeah. I like to say that you can beat the 4% rule, right? You can beat it by developing passive income. And if you develop that regular passive income that's not subject to those wild swings of Wall Street, where you can reliably get your profits out, um, now you don't necessarily have to have 25 times
Well,
your
let's
money or
do
4%.
some simple math, right? The multifamily. I mean, we're shooting for a cash on cash return of 8 to 10%, average annual return of 15%. So let's just be conservative, 10%, right? So if to get that same $100,000 per year in income, I need $1 million deployed, right? That's less than half of the savings plan. And that doesn't even count the enormous tax benefits of that strategy, right? So it's just a matter of being a little bit more open-minded and just spending a little time, watching your videos or reading a book and educate himself about an asset class. And multifamily is not the only one. There's other great commercial real estate asset class. There's even things like oil. They have certain benefits or precious metals. Just take a little time, educate yourself, talk to a few operators, look at some investment opportunities. And when you do that, some people then take a little bit of money out of the stock market, like you've done, and they invest it, and they're very careful. You're biting their nails. Oh my gosh, they do the right thing, and then all of a sudden they get their distribution check, and they're like, they feel a little better. They invest in another one that goes pretty well, and over time they start investing more and more, and then within 5 to 7 years, that passive income and the profits from the sales of those things, they can also quit their job because the high net worth individual wants the same thing that the active real estate investor wants. They want to control their time.
That's right. Yeah, the freedom. I see it on your T-shirt there, Michael, and that's your thing, right?
Freedom.
Freedom. That's what
Yeah,
we're all looking for.
that's right.
So you mentioned tax benefits, right? And I think we're going to go to depreciation on that. And I think there's some unique things about multifamily and what you can do or what depreciation can do for you. Having just gone through my K1s for my passive real estate, I found that there's some pretty good advantages there. What have you found?
Yeah, it's the same thing, and especially with bonus depreciation that Trump introduced. Depreciation has been around for decades. The difference with bonus depreciation that you can deduct the depreciation in year one, which is very generous. Now, in the old days, I think the rule of thumb was you can deduct like 90% of the value of the building over like 7 years or 5 years or something like that. Appreciation is just not all at once. So it's still pretty good. And who knows what President Biden's going to do with the tax laws? Is he gonna reverse bonus depreciation? He's on a roll that basically undoing everything that Trump has done. So he may just undo that. And so it's not going to get as interesting. I mean, it was pretty interesting, I gotta say. But at least you still get depreciation. That's probably not going to go away. That doesn't make any sense for it to go away. But you invest $100,000, you get your 10% cash on cash, you get $10,000, and you buy a car with it. Meanwhile, when you get a K1, you're going to show like a $30,000 loss. And your CPA is like, oh, Michael, I'm so sorry that you are such a bad investor. You had to go through this harrowing loss. How will you survive today? He goes, oh, hold on a sec. No, we make good money. It's just the tax laws allows you to depreciate. It's this phantom expense, that makes it look like the investment actually made a loss. Therefore, you're not paying any taxes on that gain.
Right. Yeah. And that's what I found with my passive investments. We use the special depreciation that was put out there. And I think it was probably close to 80% of my initial investment within the first
Crazy.
year you get back as a loss. And it's like, but it made money, which is crazy. So that's excellent.
We're going to break right here. I hope you enjoyed Michael's stories and his passion for financial freedom through real estate. Stay tuned for part 2 of this interview next time, when Michael and I discuss why we believe multifamily is the best investment on the planet. If you're interested in learning more about the insider secrets to real estate investing to live life on your own terms, grab my free ebook at www.spireinvestmentproperties.com/secret. If you want to learn more about Michael, here's how to get a hold of him.
So we have resources for both passive and active investors, and you can find everything at themichaelblank.com. We have a book called Financial Freedom with Real Estate for people who are active or passive who want to quit their job. We have a podcast called the Apartment Building Investing Podcast, and it's all about financial freedom with real estate. And those are some great ways that people can connect and find out more about us and what we do.
Terrific. Thanks, Michael.